Authors want to sell more books. But it's hard if you're not visible. We can help. Claim your instant access to the 10 tips for free book promos from the Bold Authors Network at fictionwriterspodcast.com/boldauthors now. Welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana McAra, where you will discover tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Here you'll find new energy, new perspectives, new resources, and new ideas that will spark your creativity into a blaze of brilliance. It's easier than you think. Be sure you visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, get out your notebook, tune in, and let's get started.
Have you ever been on one track and then jumped to a completely different track? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. My name is Lana McAra, and welcome to the Fiction Writers Podcast. Tips, tricks, and ideas, or fiction that is, #unputdownable. Today, I'm delighted to welcome to the podcast Tony DUrso. Tony is a host of a top 100 Apple podcast, the #1 show on Chartable worldwide in May of 2024. Launched in 2015 as the Revenue Chat Radio, and eventually as the Tony DUrso Show, Tony interviews elite entrepreneurs, including Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, Kevin Harrington, and Wesley Snipes. With over 50 million total listens and over 200,000 listens per episode, the Tony DUrso Show provides a massive impact for entrepreneurs who want to share with the world. And Tony jumped into fiction. We're going to be talking about that just a moment. Tony's a 5-time Amazon bestseller and a Chicken Soup for the Soul co-author. Welcome, Tony.
Lana, thank you so much for having me here on the Fiction Podcast. It's an honor to be interviewed. I know what it's like. I've been doing this for, 10 years now. I am grateful to be on your show. Thank you so much.
Oh, what a delight. What a delight. So let's talk about that just a moment, about being a successful podcast host and doing some other book projects in the nonfiction arena. Why fiction?
That's a great question because it's something that you normally don't do. My shows are all serious about people that have made it to the top of their category, people that have beat odds and have made it and made a name for themselves and made a success for themselves, whom I call them elite entrepreneurs. And I've been doing that for 10 years, and I've written several nonfiction books, which have done well. And here I am doing fiction, and it is very strange for me. And the only reason I'm doing it is because the co-author on the fiction series, SKR, came to me many years ago with this really great idea for a fiction story. And I thought, well, I don't write fiction, and it would be out of character or whatever, however the wording is. It's not my niche. People will think, what's up? But because there's a co-author, I thought, this could work, and it's a really great story. So we got together, we collaborated, we started putting together this great story, and we call it the Imen of Atlantis. It's a series. The first episode is Bitten. I'll tell you more about that in a moment. And so we put this together, and it's just it just worked. And when something just works, it's right.
Oh yeah, you get that feeling in your gut. This is gonna go. This is good. So Atlantis, and I'm fascinated by the fact that you have a story about Atlantis. So where did that start? How did that get going?
Well, we developed all the characters. It started with one character, which my co-author had started with one person, whom we call a character, and a heroine. And from there, we developed, well, who's there, who's not, what's going on. We started coming up with people and what their personalities are. It's very important if you write a book. It really helps a lot is to determine what's the personality of this person? Not even so much what the person looks like, but what's this person like? What's going on in their head? Where are they? So we really started developing that. And that really helps the story take off. It really helps develop it. And as we're putting this together, we put together an amazing race of people whom we called the Imen, I-M-E-N, the Imen. And it just kind of fit. It was one of those things just kind of fit. It was like, where are they on Earth? Well, they're nowhere on Earth. So what do we do? Well, they're from Atlantis. This is a story now in the past. This is kind of, I'm telling you how we kind of developed it. So now this is a story in the past about the Imen of Atlantis. Yeah, that fits. It feels good. All right, great. So we have the Imen of Atlantis. Where they live? Well, we don't know. Let's take a look. Well, they're Atlantis. It's the Middle Earth. They're in the center of the Earth. And to go now to reality, in literal center of this Earth, what I call Middle Earth, used to be on the old maps from hundreds of years ago, old maps of 4-island continent divided by rivers. And it looked like a big cross. And many maps, if not hundreds of maps of the, from a couple hundred years ago and earlier, had this 4-island continent there. And then when I was in my school, in my grammar school, the center of the Earth then was just all ice. It was just all ice. There were people there on the North Pole. I remember very clearly, as if it was yesterday, studying about the North Pole, people and ice, and there's even a stick there saying the North Pole. And in movies, James Bond movies and Our Man Flint movies, they would have submarines break up literally at the North Pole. So it was always ice when I grew up. And now today, it's just all water on the maps. It's just all water. And I thought, there you go. It's lost real estate. So I can claim that and use that as real estate because no one can object. There's because of that. So we said, okay, that's where Atlantis is. Now we're talking about in the past, right? So I say is. So that's where Atlantis is. And we drew a detail of one of the quadrants, the northeast quadrant of the land, and started putting the nations there and a river and mountains. And that map, if you go on the inside page here, this is the book, by the way, the Bitten. I'll tell you about that in just one moment.
Great cover.
I don't know if you've seen it yet yourself, but if you go, can that pick it up?
Yes.
Okay, so we drew that and worked that out. Here's the center of the Earth, and known as Mount Meru, and then we worked all these things out, and so it just started. Once those of you in the audience that write fiction, you know what I'm talking about. It just starts writing and developing and growing and getting legs and becoming from 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional, and the characters and the plot. And, we spent some time putting this together. And so now we have a territory that nobody can claim as theirs, and no one can object to it, in other words. And it just works so beautifully. And it's a great story that we have so many reviews. The book, there's a little tag here, hit #1 internationally. Multiple countries hit #1 on their list. I mean, just people just love this book. And you can see it here in my backdrop. For those of you seeing this on video, this is book #2 called Ruthless. We may or may not touch upon that, but it's a series. There's multiple books in the series. The third book, called Pursuit, is going to go out in February or Valentine's Day. And as a matter of fact, we're going to give away the ebook of Bitten. That's volume 1. We're going to give that away February 14 and 15 on Amazon. Now, so you can get it free, but I think you would want a nice paperback or even the hardback. The hardback's coming out. but it doesn't matter. The book is available on something like 40,000 retail outlets, and like such as Barnes and Noble. Now, they may or may not have stocked it on their shelves by the time you go there. So if you could, all you need to know is the spelling of my last name. Tony, that's easy. You can remember that. But it's DUrso, DUrso. So you just go to Barnes and Noble or any of your bookstores, because it's in 40,000 retail outlets, and just ask them for the book. And if they don't have it, they'll order it, or it'll speed them up in stocking their shelves or whatever. Because it's just come out, and it's just the deal just occurred, like, I want to say, yeah, in December, sometime in December, for all these bookstores to have the book. So I know it'll take a while so if anyone wants to help out and just ask for it, it'll speed up the ordering. That'd be awesome.
Wow, so interesting. Seeing what you did there, it kind of reminds me of Dungeons and Dragons, where you have your landscape and then you populate it with these different tribes and so forth. Is it tribal, or are they actually like Star Wars, where different species? How does that work?
Sure. Well, the Tolucan Times, which is the newspaper magazine for the entertainment capital of the world, Hollywood, they did a book review and loved it, and they said it's a unique world in the tradition of Tolkien. That's quite an honor. And by the way, Publishers Weekly just released their review. They love it. They said it's like, if I remember the name right, I'm not looking at it, Jeanette Ing and Jennifer Lloyd. Forgive me if I don't have it right. I have to look it up, but you'll see it on the Publishers Weekly. They loved it too, and they compared it to some big name authors, which I'm honored. But to answer your question, the Imen are a mystical, let's call it, race of people. In the Imen story, in the book, we take just a chapter or so to describe the setting, because sometimes you have to do that with a book. Where are you? What happened? So we talk about how the Imen were a fierce warrior race. I mean, they were fierce. Picture in your mind samurai warriors, and they were ruthless, and all they wanted to do was just conquer, and they fought and eradicated any other race in the entire 4-continent landmass of Atlantis. Okay. And then they started infighting because they had nobody else to fight. And at this point, a divine messenger came down, a divine messenger, because the creator saw what's happening and knew they would wipe themselves out. And he had issued them a message, an ultimatum. They could continue fighting, and if so, they would just wipe each other out. They would eradicate each other, or lay down your weapons, switch your mindset to helping and healing people. In return, the creator will give you additional abilities and help you heal and unite instead of divide, conquer, and destroy. So what happened, Lana, is those that did not heed the divine message continued fighting until they wiped each other out, as predicted. But there were a group of them that did lay down their arms and received special abilities, which we'll talk about. Hopefully we'll see. And they became the Imen of Atlantis, and they went underground. Because they went underground, and they come to the surface only when they're needed to help or do something. So meanwhile, now we have the Imen, kind of like, picture, for good, because to answer your question about the races and the people, picture they're like almost like Asian samurai. I talked about samurai. So that's what the Imen are like. The people on the surface, such as from Karen, who is a leading country, they're blondes and blue eyes, light-colored eyes. And then a neighboring country, still there in Atlantis, the Carthaginians, they're more like oh, more like the Irish, maybe with reddish hair, and they've got that very white skin with some freckles on it, kind of like that. So we have these people, and the names of these people kind of fit their race. For example, the Karenites, Karen, uh, we have them mostly Viking names. The Imen have mostly Japanese or Asian sounding names, things like that. Like I say, once you start developing your characters, you know their name, you know what they're like, you know their customs, you start putting things together. And but I have to say, because this is a question I wish people would ask more, so I'm going to offer more. There is a what do I call them? A protagonist? I'm not sure of those words, because we don't think that way when we write the story. We just write the story. But there's a character, and again, I'm using that word. There's a character who is like an ogre, and he has strength that's unheard of. And this is part of also the character building. We patterned him. We modeled him after a real person who really acts that way, who really has superhuman type strength when he goes berserk. So some of these people really model and are like real people. Like there's an evil person there, and we know an evil person like that, and we just wrote the personality. So when you read in the book some things that make your eyes pop open, you go, this is fiction. Well, a lot of these people in the book, we modeled their characters from real people. But it's really interesting. So if you do write fiction and you're thinking of, gosh, I've got this character, what's he like? Just picture somebody that's very similar to what you want. And now you can draw on your relationship with that person and knowing that person, all these features and characteristics and what they're like and what they don't like. And when you do that, it almost starts to kind of write itself in a way, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. They sort of take over after a while, don't they?
Yes, they do.
So in your world building, because that's what we call it, world building process, how do you do that? Do you make models? Do you draw like architecture? How do you do that?
We don't draw anything, though. At the very beginning, we modeled our people, good and bad, villains and heroes and heroines. We modeled them after real people. We started to draw them out and get an idea of, okay, this is what Ivan looks like. This is what Corin looks like. This is what Roni looks like, and we just started drawing them out. My co-author is an artist, SKR. And so, we started getting visuals, but we really didn't need it. We didn't need buildings or visuals because we have our own imagination, and we're hoping to draw upon that. And we're hoping that the reader will use the imagination to roll with the story, as opposed to everything's done for you and here's what the characters look like and here's what they're saying. We want to use this to bring up and encourage the imagination, which we feel really we can use more of that in society, more imagination building. So we didn't really create any models or anything. We do have the map, which I showed you, and a character description, and that was enough to write. It's a 9-book series, and most of a good portion of the books are written, and we're just going through them, going through, making sure everything is right with the names and who did what when, and then just releasing them. So it's still a process, because as you know, when you write a book, you just write this huge big thing with tons and tons of pages. So we've got that written, but now it's pulling out the story and putting it out in bite-size, books, for the person, So we're in that process, and we didn't need to go anymore. I did want to mention, even though people are saying it's like Tolkien, and it's a world like Tolkien, little what's the phrase here? Spoiler alert, there are no dragons. Sorry, guys. And there are no rings. Okay. There's no magic rings.
No magic rings.
No magic rings. Sorry, guys. People wear rings. There's rings, but not the ones with the power.
Yeah. You have to keep your own brand. You got to be a little different, right? So when you're using real people as your models for these characters, do you ever find that sometimes they don't want to cooperate with what you had in mind?
No, not at all. Because first, the people who we wrote the stories about or use their characters have no idea. In fact, I don't think any of them even know we wrote a book. So these people are clueless that we used their personality and modeled it. And because, like, for example, Bomo, who's like an ogre, he's huge. He's very, not very literate. He didn't go to school. He's very, myopic in what he does. He's a woodcutter. He cuts down trees. He takes the wood into the nearby town of Jasper, and he sells them for pieces of silver. And at the end of the day, he takes the silver and he exchanges them for gold. And he is all about gold. If he sees something gold or something gleaming like gold, he wants it. And he's a tough bad guy, and he'll take it. Now, the real person in reality isn't like that with gold, but has that sort of very myopic, very not educated mindset, but so strong. It's like you've never heard. I mean, this person in real life, if you park in his parking spot, he'll go out, he'll pick up the car and he'll move it into another spot.
Wow.
You know those 5-gallon bottles of water that you get from your water people? If he gets mad, he'll pick, at where he works, he'll pick them up like they're pebbles, like they're candy, he'll pick them up and just throw them. Can you imagine that? I mean, can you imagine that? It takes two people sometimes to lift these and turn them over. He just picks them up and just throws them. When he goes into a rage, he's unbelievably strong. And we thought, that's Bomo. We want that character. So we use as much as possible of the person, but then we mold it into what this is, or how the person has to fit or operate or engage in our book. And the people reading it, I mean, the reviews are just off the charts. So many people just love it, and it lends itself to the imagination. So I'm really, really grateful, because again, it wouldn't be done without I could not have done this without a co-author. I just couldn't have. It's that kind of a story. So I'm really, really grateful that a lot of people love it.
Oh, this is fascinating me. I have to tell you, Tony. You're sparking my imagination as we're having this conversation.
Let's write a book.
I did co-author a book with one person, and it was a very fun process because I was so anxious to see what he was going to send me next, what the next chapter was going to be, because he was doing the initial writing, was a suspense novel. And so I was just as into it as, any reader would have been.
And I, my co-author is different, we're different how we operate. But for me, I zone into something. When I get into something, I live it. I mean, I'm living it. I mean, I've never climbed a mountain in my life. Never. But when one of our, I call them characters, I don't know if that's the right word anymore, one of our people in the book has to climb a mountain, I wrote that whole section just putting myself in place with the mountain, the right hand and the this and the that and the foot and climbing. I've never done it, but I put myself into that zone so deep, I feel I climbed a mountain. And I wrote all that. So I can do that. And I think that really helps a lot. So for you out there, if you're writing a book and you're trying to figure out how to get this point, just dream like a kid. Dream, put yourself there, and make it so that's all you see, and then just start writing what you see. and maybe this is old news, but for me, it worked. And this is what I did it. Maybe this is like writing a book 101 and everybody's like, Tony, we know that. So I don't know what the world knows, but for me, I zoned in so much. And that's how I write my sections of the book and my people or characters. I become them, I live them, and I write about it.
Oh, yeah. That's totally what it takes to put out pages that are realistic to people, and that the people reading then believe it because you believe it. Yeah.
I have climbed that mountain.
Yes.
And I almost died, but it worked. I survived.
So tell me about the animals. Are there any like living teddy bears or talking trees or anything like that?
Spoiler alert, guys. Sorry, there are no talkie trees. But for those brave, is that the right word? For those brave to get into the third book, which is releasing this Valentine's Day, and you can get that free on Amazon, February 14 and 15. We're going to give away, actually, the first book, Bitten. The third book, called Pursuit, goes into, and I don't want to spoil too much, but it goes into a territory you've never seen of. I've never seen in a book. Never seen in a book. So here's my imagination. I've never read in a book, seen in a movie, or heard a territory I've never seen anywhere. And so we take you to a world within Atlantis that is just so unique and different. And I'm going to answer the question, but I want to not watch out what I'm saying. There are features, is that the right one? Entity that I've never seen or heard of that I can think of in any book or movie at all ever. And we have in that, let's call it a land, because I'm going to put you in mystery. Let's call it a land. There are wolves there, the white wolves of Belshera. And these are huge wolves. These wolves, they're giant. They're giant wolves. And they're the guardians of the white forest of Belshera. And I'm going to leave it at there. These wolves, you want to be their friends.
Mm. Wow, very interesting.
There's nothing else different in terms of animals, no talking trees. But in terms of how the people are, picture the what do people call it? The old world, with the beautiful grand buildings and how people were back then, very nicely dressed. They had swords and daggers, and they were just really, think of the what's called the Renaissance period, just how nice people dressed, kind of like that period, that era. Between that and the people in Tolkien, how as far as dress, and I could be wrong. My co-author could get mad, say, "No, that was not the right," but I'm just trying to get a concept there. It's not like modern clothes with suit and ties. And there's no talking animals or talking birds or anything like that. But then there's a possibility, but I'm not going to spoil the future book. You guys got to get through the first couple books to find out more.
Tony, it sounds like this story, the series, would be perfect for another one of those landmark movie releases with the three movies in a row kind of thing. Yeah,
we're never going to do that. I'm so sorry. Sorry to disappoint. My co-author and I are firm believers that we've read books, we've seen the movies, turn it from books to movies, and the stories always are changed. They're not the right story. And the only way to keep the story true to what we created is to not release a movie. So we're not going to release a movie. It's not a matter of money. There's no money you can give me for me to change the story, because that's how important the story is. I will put it into audio, because that can be used the book without changing you're not changing the story. So I'm open to that, but we're not going to do a movie. It's just it has nothing to do with the money or the fame or the notoriety. It's a matter of staying true to the story, and we're just going to do that. And if you think I'll buckle, go ahead, offer me $1 billion. Sorry, it's not a thing. It's not for money.
That is just beautiful. That is so beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about the theme and the message. Does it have anything to say to us in our modern world?
I have to be very frank, straightforward, and honest. All three. I tease a little. I'm Italian. I was born in Italy, by the way. Um, when we wrote it and set it up, we literally had no clue. We kept it separate from current world. We just let it write itself, as I told you, by developing the characters and what they do and what's going on and who's trying to get where. And we did it with that total, almost a myopic mindset. But when it's all done and you look at it, you go, Tony, you wrote this about modern times, didn't you? And it's like, no, I swear. I had no idea of weaving in anything going on, and I'm not going to refer to modern times. But when you read it and you even read what it's about in the little summary, you go, oh yeah, that's what's happening today. But it was not intended. But because you develop characters and you have people that are good and then people that are trying to do something and want to take away what the good people have and how the creator wants his world to live together and everyone to be in harmony. And when you start putting that together and you see the silliness, the baloney that happens, you look at it and you go, this is what you wrote, but it kind of like this, that just came out of the story. We had no intention of doing that, but it is so much like current times. I'm astounded going, wow, we didn't try, and there's movies where you watch them from, The Wizard of Oz. People say, oh yeah, that was all current, they were writing about current, we didn't go that way. It just kind of works out that way. And it's like, go figure. But yeah, you're going to think that that you're going to read characters and go, oh, I know this person. Oh, I know that person in the news. Oh, I know that. But it wasn't planned. So I want to make that very, very, very strong but it's just interesting how, I guess, history, it repeats itself, and how these sort of events where some people just don't have enough. Well, the book Bitten, and I never described it. It's bitten. The word is bitten, Bitten. Spoiler alert: there's no vampires, and it's not a love story. It's bitten because the rulers, the powers that be, are bitten for gold and greed and power. And when they find out the abilities of the Imen that can heal and restore and do amazing things, I'm not going to tell you. You have to read the book. And they can turn things into gold. Is like, wow. Now the evil powers that want to be go after, try to go after the Imen to capture them, and they're bitten for that lust for power, for greed, and that's why it's bitten. And as the book progresses, it goes into the second book, which is called Ruthless. And I'll tell you right now, you have not seen, well, maybe you have, if you read the news or if you see the news, some people do some really bad things, and we have that, but it's still a PG version of the book. We don't go graphic on some things. So this is safer for kids as far as I know. There's no swearing. It's very proper, but there are bad people that do bad things. And you would think that we wrote about certain people because you're going to go, oh, this is that person, but you know what I mean.
Yes, that's very interesting. I love it, the way things just seem to morph and take on a life of their own. And that's when you know you're really onto something. So what methods are you using to market the book?
A lot. Next question. Uh, um, I did a radio tour in December, and the aggregate total of audience was 22 million. So I did a radio tour, and for anybody out there that wants to find out more about that, I'll give you my referral free. I'll give you my referral and connect you up if you're serious. It was very affordable and really got huge exposure. So I did a radio tour. I did a lot. So I didn't prepare for this question, but I'll start I have another author services. Again, if you're and I don't mean to compete with what you do, but I have an author services that helps get reviews and get people to review the book and put it into their newsletters and other magazines and periodicals. So I have a service that does that. Again, very inexpensive. And again, I don't make anything on it. I'm happy to connect anyone, but so I have that ongoing. I got the book into as I mentioned, 40,000 retail outlets. There's a way to do that. So I did that, and I started putting that out there. I am looking for contacts to get into, Costco and Walmart and Sam's Club and places like that. If that's your brother, sister, uncle, mother, father, I want to talk to you. Yeah, I just want to do that. And I have not. Now, I've got a podcast. Some people call it a big podcast. In 10 years, we've hit 50 million listens audio on podcast. It seems to be a big show. It's #1 show in Chartable last year. All Podcasts International. It was the #1 show. And I am going to try. My aspiration to promote myself in my show, because I usually don't. My shows are very, I bring on a guest and I talk about the guest. I don't really talk about me. Right now, I'm talking about me, and I've done 25,000 times more talking now than I do on any of my shows. But I'm going to start promoting that, and I do a lot of social media. My social media is in the several 100,000. I've learned from my because I bring on experts and they teach me. That's how I know anything. I bring on experts on my show for 10 years, millionaires, billionaires, people at the top of their category, whom I call elite entrepreneurs, and they teach me whatever. And they teach you. Listen to my show and you learn too. So I've grown my social media to several 100,000, and I promote that a lot. So I am very heavy on promoting my shows on social media. And those are some of the key things. I do more. I made these little business cards. I don't happen to have one handy, but I made little, business card, which literally is the cover of this book. That's the business card. And on the back side, it's got my email address and where to find the book. And so when I find people somehow, when I'm out there, and because I'm a people person, we could be standing in the line of the store, and next thing you know, you and I are having a conversation and we're talking in Italian or French or whatever, because it's just, I'm like that. And if a book ever comes up, or if whatever, I have a business card, and I'll hand it to them so that they can remember the name of the book, or how to find me, or how to find my podcast and stuff like that. Very important. I don't use it very much. I'm very demure about it, if that's a good word to use for it. I'm reserved. I'm not like, hey guys, hey, my name's Tony, I wrote a book. I'm not like that in the show, in real life, if we meet each other, at a store. But if it comes up, and I've had a lady, because she had a book, and I asked her about her book, and she was in the checkout, and I was really interested in who it was. And I told her I wrote a book, and she wanted to know how to remember it. And I didn't have a business card. I had nothing to give her. And then, so I realized I need that. So if it ever comes up, so I've been passing out cards, and that's another way for people to tell people. So it's something you have to work out. And that's part of like my word of mouth. Now, Jack Canfield took it another level, as you know, Chicken Soup for the Soul, whom I am a co-author on their 30th anniversary. They sold over 500 million books. And if you don't know the story of Jack Canfield, check it out. This guy drove up and down the coast of California, from what I've heard, with his books in the trunk of his car, and he sold them to people. Now, I didn't go do that, but you just start with who you know, where you know, how you know, and spend some time to promote it. And I do not promote the book enough. Like I say, pretty much just social media, and I did a radio tour, a podcast like this podcast. Those are some of the key ways, and some of the main ways. There are, I'm going to start doing merch and putting that on my YouTube. So just little things like that. Just keep growing. You know, you go to my YouTube, all you need to know is my last name, DUrso. You'll find my YouTube, and whatever couple weeks, you're going to start seeing some merch there. And it's just things like this. Just keep growing to promote your brand. I've got lots of ideas. I've been doing this. Not only have I been doing this, I talk to experts and I bring them on my show and they tell me how they do things. So I've learned a few things. So all that combined has helped bring some success. And I'm truly grateful at being connected with people like with you to help talk about the book, because I think it's good. And I think it's got a really good moral lesson. Even though we didn't start off that way, I think it's very important for people in today's day and age to read the book and live and learn from some of the characters that we have.
Yes, yes. And I'm sorry to spring that on you, but you did such a great job. I just want to tell everyone that, jumping into a new arena, that's what Tony did with this fiction book. But big but here, his history in podcasting, marketing, and all of that is standing him in good stead. And the same for you. Don't just ignore the stuff you already know. You can always learn more, but use what you know already to help you launch your fiction forward. That is such good advice. And chatting people up in the grocery line, that doesn't hurt either. Yeah. So where would people contact you if they wanted to ask you for more information or anything?
The simplest, easiest place to visit me is at DUrso.com. You'll find out all about my podcast. You'll find out all about my books. I've got a number of books there, not quite a dozen, but it's getting there. By the end of this year, there'll be a dozen books on my bookshelf. You'll see my baby picture and my early picture. You'll find out about me there. You'll find out some about my media, some of the bigger shows that I've been interviewed on. You can listen to any and all podcasts all the way to day one. I'm talking 10 years worth. All my archives are there at TonyDUrso.com. And with that, knowing that name, you can find me on your favorite social media platform. I'm easy to reach. I'm easy to find. I'm easy to reach. If you have an important question, info@TonyDUrso.com. I believe that works. info@TonyDUrso.com. You can email me.
Awesome. I believe you have a free gift for our listeners today. Is that correct?
I don't remember. A free gift. I have, if you go to TonyDUrso.com and you go on the homepage, this is important. You're going to find a giveaway from me on the 3 critical mistakes you do not want to make on social media. You're talking to somebody who's got several 100,000 followers, so you don't want to make these mistakes. That's giveaway 1. Coming up really soon, it's written, it's just going through a final proof and edit and design, is going to be the vision map. And the vision map is what I've developed and created. It's 8 steps that started when I started my podcast, and I took it up to 50 million listens in 10 years. And it's what I use to promote my books. It's what I use to do anything and everything. Is is the vision map as how to create your reality from just an idea to a total hardcore reality. This book was an idea once upon a time. It was just an idea. We didn't even have a name of the book. We just had one character. What are we going to do with this one character? Such a great character. What are we going to do? Let's start writing a story. And that story became a book, and that book became a series. And I'm holding it. This is a real physical finite object because I have a vision map that I used which we haven't gone into because it's a lot of information, a lot of instruction. I use that to mold my my work, my actions, my endeavors into creating this book. And I'm going to give that's coming. It's all written, it's all ready. It just needs a design, needs for the giveaway. So you're going to see that at DUrso.com very soon. And it's totally, completely free. But right now you're going to get the free guide of mistakes you don't want to make on social media. This is going to help grow your social media faster. You really want that guide. If you're an author, you want that guide. If you wrote a book, you want that guide. If you work for a living, you want that guide because it's really going to help you a lot. So not just one free offer, but two for you.
And that is amazing because it's going to take a little while for the production company to get this out. And I think by the time it's ready to go out, when people are listening to this, your second offer will be available. So really great. TonyDUrso.com. Tony, this has been amazing. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure. There's more, but I don't like to boast. I've done more stuff. It's quite something to promote the book. It's quite something.
Oh, yes. It's almost like a lifetime project. It really is. Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Tony.
I thank you so much for having me. I am very grateful. Thank you so much, Lana.
Absolutely. And thank you for being with us today. See you next time.
Thank you for tuning into the Fiction Writers Podcast with Lana McAra, where we share tips, tricks, and ideas for fiction that is #unputdownable. Remember to visit our website at www.fictionwriterspodcast.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Fiction Writers Podcast.